Welcome into the DNVR Rockies Podcast. I am Patrick Lyons, and joining me today on a very special, I'm not going to say emergency podcast because, frankly, we were set up to be going live here at 1 o'clock. But nevertheless, talking prospects that the Rockies just acquired in a trade for reliever Pierce Johnson. It's Tyler Paddor from Blake Street Banter. What's up, Tyler?
What is up, Patrick? It's an honor to be back. Second time back here. So, it's been a pleasure. The first time hoping, the same this go around. And yeah, a bit of an emergency today. Perfect timing with this podcast.
Yes, 3 more appearances. You will be a part of the 5 Timers Club. We do send out Blazers for that, so fear not. Yes, Pierce Johnson is going to Atlanta for 2 prospects, right-handed reliever Victor Vodnik and a right-handed starter in Tanner Gordon. Initial reaction, Tyler, of this is, well, you got something for ultimately what was going to be nothing at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think there was I guess you would say an underrated chance of Pierce Johnson getting traded. I think his stuff is really good, and other teams would have seen value in that arm, but still was not expecting 2 pretty legitimate pitching prospects. And MLB.com had, I think, Vodnik at 10 or 11, and then Gordon was 26th. So you got 2, not just 2 pitchers, because when you look at the trade for Moustakas, Connor Van Scoy was not a Rockies or a Angels top 30 prospect. You get 2 Braves top 30 prospects, and I think there's a lot to like with each of those guys.
Yeah, Victor Vodnik being the higher, as you said, 10th in the MLB pipeline, most recent update. He was a 14th round pick in 2018 out of Rialto High School in California. He's 23 years old now, 6 foot even, not a tall guy, but nice fastball, changeup combo, both of those pitches. Above average for sure. Fastball sits in the mid-90s, can maybe ratchet it up to 99. Changeup in the high 90s. Was also 17th on Baseball America. They don't like him quite as much, but he was 14th on Baseball America's top 30 Atlanta prospects going into the season. I actually got the chance to see him in the Arizona Fall League in 2021 when he was still a starter. His stuff just translates a lot better to the bullpen. Was a reliever last year, 2.93 ERA at AAA Gwinnett. Sizable strikeout rate, which was really good. He's pitched most of the season in AA Mississippi. Atlanta doing things differently. They jockey guys back and forth from AA to AAA with those teams in Mississippi and Gwinnett. So really close. But as everybody in the chat's popping off here, James saying, hey, let those trades keep rolling. Fresco 5000, good trade. Need some more young prospects. You're getting 2 arms for a guy that, while it was important for you this season, this is not an important season overall. So you know what? You got something really good there.
Yeah, and I think Vodnik, if he can clean the walks up a little bit, I think it's a pretty surefire, back end of the bullpen kind of arm. Like you said, like an upper 90s fastball is always going to play. And from what I've seen of that changeup, it's pretty wicked. So I am such a fan of getting two young prospects for a guy who knows, maybe they would have wanted to re-up the Colorado kid, but could have been lost value at the end of the season.
And they still can. And when he goes out to free agency, you go, hey, Pierce, that was fun. You want to run it back? He very well may do that. He really enjoyed his time there. Vodnik, yeah, he definitely is the better of the 2 guys. Been closing out some games with Mississippi. 4 saves, 15 games finished, 3.10 ERA. Was a guy that Atlanta, unfortunately, kind of got pushed out, in the Rule 5 crunch. He wasn't protected, wasn't drafted in the Rule 5 draft, has a little bit of an injury history, but he's a pitcher, so that kind of can be, somewhat expected. My favorite line from the Baseball America write-up about Victor Vodnik was, for now, he profiles as a low-leverage, ground ball-inducing reliever, end quote. Which means he's a reliever of high value for the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah. But like you were saying, I don't understand the whole AA, AAA jump in that the Braves have going on, because Tanner Gordon, the other pitcher, he started in AA, got 5 starts, 6 appearances in AAA, and now he's back in AA. So I don't exactly know the whole elevator scheme they've got going on there, but it's kind of weird because, Vodnik pitched well in AAA last year, and now he's in AA.
Yeah, very strange. I think, as you point out, I think Gordon and Vodnik, Gordon less so. I think Gordon might do well to just go right in there with Hartford and at Double-A.
Mhm.
That rotation. I know they've kind of been working down a man. Nick Garcia had 2 starts this last week. Typically, they're going with 6-man rotations to maybe keep the innings down just a little bit. So Gordon could go into that rotation. Vodnik, you could see in Albuquerque, or you could see him in Hartford, kind of get his feet wet a little bit within the organization. And I really think we could see Vodnik at some point here at the end of the season for Colorado.
Yeah, I agree. And when you're also looking at Tanner Gordon, he's going to be Rule 5 eligible this offseason. You would think that if you're trading for a guy with that demographic, that classification, that he's also going to get added to the 40-man after the season, unless, things just don't really go well the rest of this season. So you get 2 guys who are probably going to be on the 40-man by at least in 3 months when the season's over. They're going to be those candidates. So awesome stuff. That was a big surprise today.
It was, especially after he goes out and, loses the game on Sunday. Again, it kind of goes to show like that stuff like that does not really change the value of a player's stock based on one performance. He had pitched really well. Obviously, he was closing out games to start the year with Daniel Bard on the IL, lost his job. ERA was kind of inflated from a lot of those non-save opportunities, but really course corrected, I think, incredibly well. Tanner Gordon, to give you a little more information about him, a right-handed starting pitcher, 25 years old, 6'5", 6th round guy in 2019 out of Indiana University. More of a pitch to contact kind of guy, which again, some people are of the school of thought that the Rockies need to get more guys that can, just be flamethrowers and strike out, opposing hitters. But if you want to get some more pitch to contact, Gordon is going to kind of fill that role. Fastball, slider, changeup, fastball might only top out at 95, but was great in that first stint at Double-A. Mississippi was legitimately dominant in those 5 starts, went up to Triple-A, 8.26 ERA, got shelled. And it's kind of been up and down since in his performances with Double-A Mississippi of the Southern League. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, Tyler. Do you think there's some kind of roster crunch? And it's really throughout the Rockies system, but it feels like between AAA and AA, you've got guys that are pressing up and they don't necessarily have anywhere to go. We'll talk about Hunter Goodman here in just a little bit when we discuss some of our prospects of the week. But Hunter Goodman is a player who seems like he was done with AA a month into the year, and yet, well, there's not enough playing time necessarily for him in AAA Albuquerque. And the reason for that is, well, you need guys that are more big league ready to help out the Rockies. So you know what? Hunter Goodman, unfortunately, is going to get pressed to stay down in AA. I think we saw that a little bit with Jordan Beck and Yanquiel Fernandez. Now they finally made their way up to AA. But does it seem like there could be this kind of crunch between the old school prospect, those taken before 2020, and the new school ones who have been moving really quickly throughout the system?
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting in those upper levels, AA, AAA. I feel like you have such a quantity of players. There's so many guys there. You're seeing AA especially. They're using that developmental list that was added, I think, 2 years ago. They're using that a lot, and that's basically allowing teams to stash players when they are mostly pitchers at this point in time, so that they don't have to have them on the active roster. And it just seems like there's so many guys there. In my head, I was kind of like, you got 2 prospects. I'm betting one's going to be, upper minors, borderline MLB ready, and then the other one's going to maybe be, hanging out in low A right now. They got 2 uppers guys, and so there definitely is a bit of a jam forming. And I know after this season, I think minor league rosters are getting limited, or the whole organization's being limited to like 27-ish per level. So you do have to wonder what is going to happen with so many prospects. You just drafted and signed 21 guys. They're going to have to push some players up. So absolutely, someone like Hunter Goodman, there's just nowhere to go right now, even though he just had a torrid week to kind of cap off a really, really good first 2/3 of the season in Hartford. So there's just nowhere for these guys to go. And we saw with the middle infielders, there was a pretty premium shortstop at every level. And the only thing that allowed them to move was an injury to Adael Amador. So it's pretty stagnant right now. And that's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. It means you've got guys, but it also means your guys are a little stuck. So
it's a good problem to have. in a couple of words there. And we thank Pierce Johnson for his service here on the Rockies. We raise a glass to you, Pierce Johnson. Raise a glass of Breckenridge Bourbon, the official bourbon of the Denver Broncos, widely known for their blended bourbon whiskey, a high rye mash, American style whiskey. Après anywhere is their big hashtag. Founded in 2008. You know, Breckenridge Distillery is the world's highest distillery, one of the best bourbons, most highly awarded craft bourbons in the U.S. Got to check them out. They got products available in all 50 states. Shop at your local retailer. Visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com for home delivery of the award-winning Breckenridge spirits, and head over to Bet365 so you could turn $1 into $200 of bonus bets when you join Bet365. Just download the app, deposit $10, claim your $200 in bonus bets, and as soon as you place a bet for $1, boom, you're good to go. Download the Bet365 app and use code DNVR365. When you sign up, they've pioneered live in-game betting, offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting. And Bet365 has over 80 million users worldwide, 780,000 live stream events each year, a proud partner of the Colorado Rockies. And with Bet365 baseball early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout. That easy. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners. Download the app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up for Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Prospects of the week. Let's start with AAA. Repeat performer. You might take issue with that because Chris Flexen looked really good again on Sunday night. We'll talk about him, but let's tip our cap to Jimmy Herron, outfielder, hit .381, one of only 3 isotopes to bat above .250 this week. 2 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBI, 3 stolen bases, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. He's kind of becoming, a very quality player in this system. A guy, they acquired in a deal, I believe, from the Cubs a couple years ago, and he said, he might be a little old for that level, but he's been playing really good and coming into his own in 2023.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. We see it every year, kind of like Sean Bouchard last year, the borderline afterthought categories, again, because of the age, that just play so well. He's someone I think he can play a little bit of center field. You've got to wonder if he's got to be on the radar, but how on the radar is he is really the question.
Yeah, the comp to Sean Bouchard is the one that you go, okay, now everyone's paying attention. He won the AAA Prospect of the Week the last 2 weeks for us, but you now putting the Sean Bouchard comp on that, I think makes a lot of sense. And you go, okay, maybe this could be a dude. Whitten Bernard has always been a dude, 4 for 4 in stolen base opportunities. Had a nice week. Jonathan Morales, the catcher, third base / coach, whatever you want to call it, did really well. Trio of relievers were also solid. Nick Kennedy, Eli Lingos, Riley Pint. They couldn't prevent a 4-game losing streak for the Isotopes this week, which snapped on Sunday. But overall, the pitching staff, as the Rockies pitching staff, has kind of solidified. I know they're still at a bit of disarray, but they've gotten some consistency in general, and that's allowed the Isotopes to have a lot more of that consistency, tied for the second best record in the Pacific Coast League with a 13-8 start to the second half. A lot of that has to do with 2 really good performances by Chris Flexen this week. 9 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, 5 walks, which you don't like, 11 Ks, really good. Even with Kyle Freeland set to return to the rotation this weekend in Oakland, it does seem very likely that we are going to probably see Flexen at Coors Field probably this time next week in that San Diego Padres series.
Yeah, and I'm excited. He's a guy we've all known, I think, as Rockies fans, because he's he's been tossed into trade rumors for, I think, this offseason, maybe the one before that as well. And I think that's a Coors-friendly arsenal. He relies heavily on that changeup. I think he throws a curveball as well in there that has some 12-6 drop that might not get as much run. But I was surprised to see him perform so well in Albuquerque. So a lot going his way. I'm excited to have him as, who is our 5th starter right now?
Jake Bird.
Yeah. So that was an awesome pickup. Very, very happy about that.
Yeah, Jake Bird is going to get the start today in a pseudo bullpen game. I'm kind of thinking because Carl Kaufman didn't get a start this last week. Noah Davis hasn't started either. He is, of course, on the 7-day IL with the Isotopes. So maybe we'll see Carl Kaufman get called up. Susie's down there in Washington, D.C. right now. So we'll wait to get word for that. But even still, even with Kyle Freeland coming back, you're still down another guy. So Flexen coming in at just the right time. In Double-A, Again, this was another difficult one. I'm going to lean more towards the hitters here. Jordan Beck does it again, 333, 3 doubles, triple, 3, count them, 3 more home runs for him, 4 RBI, 1 walk to 10 strikeouts. That's okay if you're putting the ball in play and hitting it as hard as he's been. He's been another player who continues to meet the challenge, and you love that. He finally did get the promotion to AA, and you don't have to necessarily worry, and for a bad reason, but you don't have to worry about, hey, well, Zach Veen and Jordan Beck, hold on, these two guys are joining forces. Like, is this good? Is this bad? Are they going to be able to play well together? Of course they are going to. Zach Veen out for the year, but Jordan Beck gets that promotion. We don't have to worry about whose stock is surpassing anyone else's. He's just been able to do his own thing, and it's been incredibly impressive.
And I love that he's still getting appearances in center field. You kind of wonder with some of those guys who are athletic corner outfielders, the label put on them, you wonder how long they're going to play center field. And he's in AA now, still playing center field. And that's somewhere Zach Veen, we hadn't seen him play center field until this year. So it's kind of the reverse, the inverse of that. I'm hopeful that Jordan Beck can continue to hang out in center field, because at this point, the questions around the bat are like, is the strikeout rate going to be a little high? He's going to mash. So if he's still playing center, and I know athletically he can do that, that's going to be a really fun thing to watch in a couple years at Coors Field. And almost makes me question, how high is he up on prospect lists at this point?
Yeah, he should be ready to jump in that top 100. Thinking about it right now, because this is one of the best parts of having people on the show and having conversations. You don't know where it's going to take you. Tyler, should we expect Jordan Beck to make his debut by the end of next year? I don't know that I would have thought that going into this year, but now I think it's a legitimate question to go, yeah, you know what? Maybe he could come up sometime in the second half, maybe in August or even September.
I would think it's a really strong likelihood now. And yeah, coming into the year, it was like, yeah, I think he's going to have some on base concerns, might not hit like a ton of power. And I thought he'd finish the year pushing for AA. Now he's already kind of cracking down on AA. Might even, I don't think he gets a shot at AAA by the end of the season. That'd be quite aggressive by the Rocky standards, but I would think he has a chance to fight for a spot in the opening day roster. That'd be really unlikely, but I think he'll have a shot to do that. Otherwise, by the end of the season, I think that's almost a certainty, especially if the Rockies kind of leave their outfield situation as is. They have some impending free agents, some kind of question marks with some of the younger guys, Sean Bouchard, as aforementioned. So if there's not any guys added necessarily, then I think Beck is a strong candidate to be up in the summer. That's kind of where I'm seeing it.
I like that. Hunter Goodman, 4 more homers this week, 6 RBIs, got 22 on the season, I believe. Don't know what else he's got to prove. Warming Bernabel, 320, 3 home runs, 5 RBI. You like to see that. And then Kyle Daters continues to do it, 308, 2 stolen bases. He's been another one of those really positive surprises. And then you could have made the case, hey, Case Williams, no pun intended, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, only give up a run, didn't walk anyone, 5 strikeouts, does a nice job in his 1 start this week. And a good week for reliever Stephen Jones, Phineas Del Bonte Smith, Blake Goldsberry. Any of those guys jump out to you that, hey, you know what, they deserve maybe a little bit more love or a little more attention?
Well, yeah, Stephen Jones is someone who last year was just tearing it up. And I thought that's an MLB reliever, and then really struggled out the gate in AAA, comes back to AA. And then this week, 9 strikeouts and 5 1/3, no earned runs. So he's back on track. I'm hoping he can stay there, because I think he went to, I don't know, it was one of the pitching labs he went to last offseason and came back and was just nasty. So I'm hoping he can keep that form and make it, to the big leagues.
Added a little bit of extra spice to all of his pitches, and a middle name he added too. I think it was Effin, I believe would be his middle name. Ryan Ritter does it again this time now. He is in high Spokane, as you point out, with the injury to Ariel Amador. 353 on the week, 6 for 17, a double, triple, homer, 5 RBI, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks. He has definitely been better than the hype. Again, when you're like a 6th round pick, 5th round guy, there's not a ton of hype. Just, hey, this guy could be something. Well, Ryan Ritter is definitely proving that he very well could be something for the Rockies going forward.
Yeah, and when he was drafted, there was a huge question on that bat, and he just entered the Rockies top 30 today, actually. Not for long on MLB.com, because they just added 2 prospects, but after Gavin Hollowell graduated, Ryan Ritter entered, and you can see the MLB grades they had on him, MLB.com, at 40 hit, 45 power, which shows the expectations on the bat as a whole. But he was someone who came into professional ball with big raw power and a swing that kind of just needed work. And I think that some of those adjustments have been implemented, and now you're looking at a guy who can, put the ball in play with regularity and authority. There's definitely that big time power that we're seeing seemingly twice a week now.
Yeah, the comps on him was Ian Desmond, and so far you go, yeah, okay, I could see a young Ian Desmond for a guy like him. Nick Kent doing it really well, had a 2-homer game, 4 RBI, hit 391. Zach Kokoska, Benny Montgomery over 300 for the week. Kokoska with a home run, and Jared Candy 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. This was a rough week for Spokane on the mound, but 2 walks to 7 strikeouts, and Evan Shawver getting back into his groove, 6 1/3 scoreless innings over 2 relief appearances. Yeah, any of those guys jump out at you as like, hey, let's give him some love.
Yeah, I was thinking there for a sec because, Jared Candy is someone we've been keeping an eye on a lot lately because he seems to go out every outing 4 or 5 innings pitched at least. I mean, they try to keep those pitch counts down on the guys down there, but it seems like it's 5 innings, 2 earned runs or less every time. He's starting to rack up the strikeouts. So I'm pretty compelled by Jared Candy, and again, we've got that jam going on in Double-A. It doesn't get any better today. Someone like Jared Candy, I think, has just been pushing the door down for long enough.
Yeah, well, speaking of candy, speaking about edibles, got to talk about Kind Love, an official partner of DNVR, and they support the local brands that we have here, obviously in Colorado. Love all the Kind Love cannabis, and always you get a consistent, great experience when we are high on Kind Love. Quality, integrity, consistency, variety, safety is what they're all about. They got the Turbo Core, those turbo joints, the Kind Love flower. It's amazing. Sold in more than 100 stores around the state. One of the first dispensaries in Colorado, established back in 2010, known for cultivating some of the highest quality cannabis in the state. Visit one of their stores down in Cherry Creek or North Denver, mention DNVR, and you receive the DNVR exclusive discount of 25% off all Kind Love flower, pre-rolls, and their turbo joint line. Visit the website at kindlove.com for their full extensive menu and online ordering. And get this, code DNVR now works for their deliveries. Shady Rays is going to be delivering some wonderful shades to your doorstep, especially when you use code DNVR. You buy one, you get one free. They'll also deliver you another pair of shades if you happen to lose your glasses. Need to get an update from Susie about that. If she got back her second pair, she's technically down 2 pairs, but maybe she found it back again. It's great. Broken replacement policy. You break them, you lose them. They're going to hook you back up again. If you don't like what you got, within 30 days, they'll give you a full refund. It's Shady Rays, 5 stars by almost 250,000 people online. Great independent sunglass company. You can check them out at the Park Meadows Mall as well. If you want to buy 2 or more pairs of polarized shades, boom, you get those bad boys for 50% off. We're talking shadyrays.com. Appreciate all the good comments from G-Man. They're enjoying the work. Even the fact they're Astros fans. We like that. And then Blake Street Banter. We'll have to talk with producer. You hear that account does need to get blocked. So let's go ahead and block that account. Just kidding. Love everybody over there. So wait a minute. Tyler, you're not running the Blake Street Banter account? We'll have to talk about this off air. Run the account. Like, it's hard to know who's doing what, who's saying what.
Yeah, and when I'm tweeting and when I'm not tweeting, I'm kind of like, what's going on? But unfortunately, I've got my one screen going on. I'm not doing the self-love. So I assume that is our main man, Aaron, who he's killing it. Always puts in a ton of effort at BSB, and we love covering the minor league stuff, and could not do it without his passion. So. Thank you, Aaron, or whoever is running that account. Can't say with certainty it's not me. Nobody knows because you can't see, around my screen. But thank you, Aaron.
Aaron and the street team. It could be the street team, but Aaron, thanks for organizing the street team in order to take care of this. Got to take care of our last prospect of the week from Low A, Michael Prosecki, 5 2/3 innings pitched, no earned runs. A lot of pitchers pitched really well. Connor Stain, 5 innings of 2-hit baseball, gave up a run. Gabriel Barbosa, 6 innings pitched, gave up a run. And for the bats, Jake Snyder, 375, homer, 5 ribbies. Daniel Amaral, Jamari Baylor, doing some big things with the bat, stealing some bases. Low A Fresno has really been an interesting place for the Rockies to kind of find some gems. And really, again, as the first level for full season pro ball for the Rockies, a lot of guys just establishing themselves, getting their names out there and saying, hey, keep an eye on me as I go to Spokane and Hartford. And so those are some of the dudes that have done it this past week.
Yeah, and Connor Stain, Mike Prosecki, those are two guys that I think they were 5th and 6th round picks respectively. Both guys have just hit the ground running and showing, hey, we're going to stick in the rotation at least a couple more years. And Prosecki, just have to say something. I just love his curveball shape is fantastic. We as Rockies fans don't love to hear about curveballs because there's a kind of a stigma against them, but he can spin it, and he's dominating down in Fresno. Again, you can say it for so many guys. He needs to be moving up. Mike Prosecki is ready for Spokane.
Tyler, appreciate your time. Before we get you out of here, we did want to touch on the idea that ultimately, and we saw it today, Rockies did it. They did the trade. Sure, you lose Pierce Johnson. That's going to maybe translate to 1 or 2 more losses this year, but the farm system does get better. That's okay. There's a lot at stake going into the 2024 MLB draft. And this was something that you texted me about when we were talking off air. And I was like, you know what, that really hammers home again, the importance, particularly for this draft. Most years, hey, if you're not good at winning, maybe you should be good at losing and to improve your draft odds, especially now that there's a lottery. But we had an interesting take on the importance of, not winning meaningless games this season and how that can really help the future of the franchise going forward in relation to the 2024 MLB draft.
Yeah, I'm absolutely hoping that this current 2023 season is sort of that bottoming out point. You can hit it, and then you're bouncing back up, at least in some way. Who knows how far that's going to be, but on pace right now to have a top 3 pick. They're going to have, if that's the case, they're going to have the top odds at the number 1 overall pick. And we can all dream about that. That might not happen, but they're going to be in the mix for a very high pick in a loaded draft class next season. It looks incredible on paper. The big thing, though, is you might have 2 additional top 50 picks, and there's a chance for one of the richest, if not the richest, draft class in Rockies history. To think you have this trade deadline, you can add a few prospects. You might have, again, an extremely valuable, the most valuable draft class in Rockies history. You add that all together, you're back at that top 5 farm system level, and hopefully the MLB team is playing a little better and you're able to open up this window into the late 2020s. I know it's a long time away. There's a little bit of light kind of appearing. I think this is something really fun to look forward to. Yeah, it's a year from now, the draft, and then years from there that will reap the benefits. But there's something, coming. There is a youth movement already coming, and you're going to have a ton more top prospects added to this system. And yeah, next year we're going to get into the coverage. These, a few months from now, some guys are going to stick out. You could add a franchise-altering player and then 2 more high-quality players in the top 50 next year.
Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz from LSU going 1 and 2, immediately top 10 prospects in all of the game. They're going to be impactful players. And yes, because of the draft lottery now, you don't have to have the worst record. You can have you can be anywhere in the top 10, essentially. The A's had the 3rd worst record last year, didn't get the 1st pick or the 2nd or the 3rd. They ended up dropping to 6th, I believe. But nevertheless, you have that opportunity at getting the 1st pick, and that is franchise altering. And a lot of what happens at this trade deadline can increase that likelihood of getting that 1st overall pick. So that's pretty nice. You want to give me one of your prospects, one of your international guys, because 2 of the 3 guys we had talked about off air were born outside the United States. One of them actually is American. The other one, not so much, but there's some names floating around right now. If you were the Rockies and the Rockies did have the 1st overall pick and you're doing it in a year in advance, who's going 1 overall in the 2024 MLB draft for Tyler Paddor?
So I'm going off the beaten path. Travis Bazana out of Oregon State, you alluded to. He's an Australian-born player from Oregon State. I think it's a fantastic player overall. He has a super quick bat. I think he's 5'10", but he has a super quick bat. I think it's 60 power. I think it's a 70 hit tool. He is a phenomenal hitter. I think he stole 30-something stolen bases this year too. So 60 grade speed. He plays second base. That's always a commodity. That would be my guy. Number 2 would be J.J. Weatherholt, another second baseman out of West Virginia. I think you could get a an incredible second base bat at the top of this draft class. But there's so many more names. Not going to overload people's minds right now. My own mind would probably be a little bit overwhelmed anyway. So, but very exciting draft class at the top.
That's it, Tyler. Let people know where you are overwhelming them, but not really. You're doing great content. Give them all the rundown of where everybody can check out your stuff, as well as the rest of the crew up Lake Street Banter.
Yeah, so my personal Twitter is at Rocks Don't Rake. That's why I'm preaching for these hitters. I want them to be raking. Rocks, ROX, Don't Rake. And over at Blake Street Banter, as we've been talking about on Twitter, we're trying to continue to grow our influence. It's Blake Street, the abbreviation of Street Banter. So come give us a follow. Come follow along. We're just having a fun time. That's what it's all about for us. DNVR does that a bit too, but we are the most fun. So come check us out.
You're throwing the gauntlet down. Most fun? Wow. We have to trademark that. We need to get our lawyers on that.
And this is going to be a bigger duel than the hyphen battle. So
whoa, this is what we're doing this now. The most fun show. All right, let's go. Well,
we're ready.
I won the hyphen battle. Did we confirm
yes,
that?
you did. So we have a little bit of extra fire this time.
Okay, let's go. Appreciate it, Tyler, man. Again, Blake Street Banter is where it's all about. Tyler, thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick.
All right, get your butts over to breckbrew.com. Go to the Breck Brew locator. Find out where you can get the Palisade Peach Wheat, a taste of Colorado right in your own refrigerator with your meal, day drink, whatever you got to do. Look, it comes from the nationally recognized orchards of Palisade, Colorado. It's a laid-back porch side refresher. And again, you go to the place that uses 100% renewable energy, a Colorado company with Colorado ingredients, breckbrew.com. And if you can't make it down to the DNVR bar for the World Cup, actually go down to the farmhouse and check them out in person. It's Breck Brew and breckbrew.com. Game time tickets, that's where you go get the hottest and newest and latest and most current. These are all synonyms of the same thing. But what is unlike anything in the world is game time tickets. I've been using it for over a decade. First show at Red Rocks, $15 to get in. The best part about game time tickets, besides the fact that you can get $20 off your first purchase using game time tickets, but it's also that you can get tickets closer to the start of the event within that 2 to 1 hour window where so many other ticketing sites don't allow you to have that. It gets shut down. Game time tickets allows you, if you're hanging out in the area, go in and snipe for those scalpers or people who can't make it to the event. You're going to get the prices lower, even lower than face value, up to 60% less than face value. Bottom line, if you love DNVR, you're going to love game time tickets and join over the 15 million folks who've downloaded the Game Time app. Now, there's a good chance that our next guest here, let's bring him in here, Matt Duckett. Matt, you've probably done a couple shows, stand-up comedian from Los Angeles, California. You've probably done a couple shows that have been sold on Game Time tickets. Is that right?
Oh, I mean, any promotional app that we can use to get people in the door, man, from trying to throw stuff on the bigger apps like SeatGeek, or using like Groupon, Gold Star, or famously just standing outside of the venue and screaming at people, hey, please come inside. You never know who's going to show up. And, you might say Jerry Seinfeld might be there, but he's not going to be there. Don't worry about. But we are shameless shills. So any promotional app marketing material that we can get our hands on, we're using it for sure.
If Jerry Seinfeld played at the club in 1982, you can still use that person on the flyers. For anyone that might not remember, Matt, I think it must have been like during the pandemic.
Yeah, man.
We had you on.
Yeah, 3 years ago. Probably super close to like 3 years on the dot at the very least. I remember it being extremely hot in my apartment then. It's hot here now. So, but yeah.
Yeah, love following your career, doing big things on the stand-up scene, and huge. I know you're a huge basketball guy, so of course I had to wear the Mile High, the Fraud City for the Nuggets. But you're not a Lakers fan, though. We should probably
no. Right? And funny enough, I actually went to two Nuggets games this season. I was there. I was in Denver twice last year, but in December I was there for Christmas. Because my girlfriend's sister lives out there. And so we went to a couple Nuggets games. And, I mean, they just trounced the Grizzlies by like 40. And I was like, these guys are winning the title back then. So I was very unsurprised that I ended up being right. But, yeah, shout-outs to Denver for taking the title. But the connecting thread between Denver and my fandom is I lived in Detroit as a kid for a couple years, right as the Pistons were getting great. So big time Detroit Pistons fan, long time Antonio McDyess stan. I'm sure plenty of love on the Denver side and plenty of love for him over in Detroit. So.
And you got Chauncey Billups. I mean,
Yep,
he's a
Billups too. Billups too. Yeah, I mean, God, so you forget because like he's such an icon of Detroit basketball. But that guy played everywhere before he kind of settled in. Boston, Toronto. I mean, just bouncing all over.
I don't know that this exists. Maybe it could, or maybe it have a different name. But it's the most addictive game on the web these days. It's not Wordle.
Mm-hmm.
The Immaculate Grid. Do they have that for the other sports yet? That you know?
So they just came out with football because Sports Reference, like Baseball Reference, I guess bought the software behind it from the guy who created it. So they just put football out, and they're saying that they're planning on doing basketball and hockey next. There is another website called Crossover Grid that does basketball. So me and my brother every day at 4 p.m. or whatever, we're sending each other our grids like, oh, how did you remember Jared Jeffries? I thought he only played for the Knicks. And blah, 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 it's the best. And obviously it all starts with baseball and the baseball grid, which, going on 2-3 months now, every day, can't get away from it. So
who's the Kevin
best.
Bacon? So that's been the thing. So I just I dabble in and out. I think because I don't want to get too obsessed over it because I want the lowest possible score. And I'm like, I'm really going to have to devote some time. But for anyone that doesn't know or maybe wants to have an even better score, who are those guys that feel like they always keep popping up, or players who've just played with the most teams that you found have been successful?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody, Edwin Jackson is the guy that everyone throws out. But the problem is everyone who plays knows Edwin Jackson. Ooh. So his percentage is always going to be a little higher than you think. So the guys that I look to a lot, the main guy that people wouldn't know is Lee Smith. Lee Smith played everywhere. Chicago, St. Louis, Montreal, Florida, Baltimore, Boston, Yankees. Yeah, he bounced everywhere. So there's a lot. Lee Smith gets a lot of use for me. Tom Gordon is another personal favorite of mine. A great reliever from back in the day. He gets a lot of play in the grids, especially the AL-centric ones. Just last night, it was Red Sox, Yankees, and I put him in there and got that nice 0.4%. And I was like, all right, there we go. And not a person who... The person only gets used on one combo, but for some reason it came up twice in a week a little while back. But I always get a kick out of whenever I get to use Matt Anderson for Detroit, Colorado. Just because when I was a kid living in Detroit, we went to a Tigers game. It was Matt Anderson bobblehead night. And for those of you who are not aware, Matt Anderson was the number 1 overall pick in the MLB draft in 1995. He had a really bad elbow injury, which kind of derailed his career. But he was supposed to be this great starter, was coming out of the bullpen, not doing a particularly great job. But they have this bobblehead night for him on his birthday. He comes out, gives up 2 hits, 2 walks, and 2 earned in 0.1 innings, and they yank him.
Wow.
And so, we had the bobblehead for years. I lost it somewhere along the way in a couple of moves, but every time I looked at it, it's like, man, that's gotta suck. Having an entire day dedicated to you, you come out of the pen. And this was against the 2002 Texas Rangers, bad Texas Rangers, where it was you had Pudge, you had A-Rod, and a whole bunch of nothing. So just an embarrassing moment for Matt Anderson, but anytime I see that Colorado Detroit, I'm like, oh, I've got the perfect guy for this, because people don't realize he ended in Colorado last season in his career.
That's a good one. Yeah, 12 games with Colorado. That's one of those names where you go, it's so plain. It's so Matt Anderson. I feel so I'm mental, so I've got a whole spreadsheet of every single Rockies player, and I'm looking up and down. All right, what are the longest names? Let me do that. How many players have had the same last name? All kinds of dumb stuff like that. And so that name is familiar, but I couldn't have told you what year. I just did it right now. I'm not above saying I had to look it up. 12 appearances in 2005, 10 innings pitched, 12.60 ERA.
Yeah. It was time. It was time for Matt to step away. But yeah, had I not been at the game, I probably wouldn't have remembered him either. And you know who else gets a lot of play? Because there's always a lot of times there's the statistical categories. Anytime there's a Rocky statistic, be it 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, nobody remembers Ellis Burks.
Mm-hmm. That's the one.
The guy was that dude in the 90s, man. He really could do it all. So I love pulling out Ellis Burks for those Rocky statistics because he's usually in there.
So I have a great bad idea, and we're pretty much doing it right now, like a tutorial on Immaculate Grid of like, okay, here are the hacks. The bad part, you're screwing yourself now. You're screwing.
Now, everyone listening is now just going to use all of these people, and I'm like, why is this percentage so high? Yeah.
Why is Matt Anderson at 62%? This is your Slumdog Millionaire story. You don't want other people co-opting it.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. I may have confessed to. I may have given too much of the secrets away. But there's a couple people in my head that I'm thinking of right now. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll keep that in the holster so that I can get my percentages where I want them. If I'm over 50 on the rarity score, I'm like, didn't do good today.
Was it a good day?
Yep.
Yeah, they're the guys who play with the most teams. Again, if you just want to kind of finish it and get in there. And also there's combinations where like, oh, I didn't remember that this guy played with his team. Like Edwin Jackson, as you said, 14 teams. Octavio Dotel had 13. Even the Rockies for a minute. Matt Stairs, 13. Mike Morgan, Rich Hill, 12. Like, again, those are going to get the job done. And then over time, you can worry about, lowering that score in a Immaculate Grid.
Yeah. My touch point a lot of the times is trying to think of guys who played for the Yankees who played other places. So like, we got like half a season of Lyle Overbay in New York, but it's like, oh, he can go to Toronto. He can go Toronto, Milwaukee, and these other, So if I can think of a guy who was on the Yankees for like a quick minute, and I can go, where did he come from and where did he go afterwards? That helps me a lot too. So people should do that with their own baseball fandoms. Is go, oh yeah, we had that person for half a minute. What was the A and the C when we were the B?
Jake Bowers is going to be one, I think, going forward.
Sure.
With Tampa and Cleveland. And for like Rockies, Yankees, you go, Troy Tulowitzki is probably going to be on the higher side. But if you go Mike Tauchman, now
you're talking. Tauchman is a great one. Wow.
I was looking at your feed, and I can remember going back on the 4th of July, celebrating our country's independence, and noticing that you had Twins Marlins, you had Ricky Nolasco, and I was like, I would not have remembered that. And so what's crazy is I put that in my notes, and then today Rockies made a trade, and the guy that they got from Atlanta, Victor Vodnik, went to Rialto High School in California. Who is the only pitcher to ever be in the majors at a Rialto High School? Ricky Nolasco. Like,
lo and behold,
that's baseball.
Yep, that's the beauty of it, is that there's all these small little connecting threads, be it high schools, a draft position. You go down the rabbit hole and go, okay, this person was traded for this person, but then that guy was traded for that guy. So you can, take a trade all the way back to the 1980s sometimes. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's all about those connecting threads, and that's why baseball fans were just so crazy about our stats and our fun facts, because there's too many of them. Like it's impossible to know everything. So the pursuit of knowing as much as you can is just so fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. All right, not to get all Byron Allen on you, Matt, but you've been a long time baseball nerd. Particularly with your buddy Tyler. Tell me about that.
with my old buddy. Yeah, so Tyler is an old friend of mine from high school. So he was a baseball player. He was a pitcher, outfielder, kind of a do-it-all type of guy. He played college ball. So yeah, I mean, we've been playing Stratomatic together since 10th grade. So it's Stratomatic. I mean, that's where he gets all his pulls for the grid from. It's like he's like, oh yeah, I was looking at this guy's card a week ago, because he has 2001 all the way to now in terms of the Stratomatic sets. So like, yeah, he'll just go through a year and just send me a picture of somebody. It was like, hey, remember when this guy just batted 340 for no reason one year? But yeah, so yeah, we go a long way back with our baseball fandom, from Stratomatic to just playing the show, to going to games together. Probably been to I would assume at least 5 or 6 Giants games together. So yeah, just an old friend and fellow stat nerd that is a good resource whenever I'm like, hey, do you remember anybody who played for the Nationals and the Twins? Because I'm struggling here.
Yeah, head over to Matt's Twitter page at @MDuckett Comedy, because I think you even have it pinned. Your joke with the Marlins jersey, talking about you and Tyler hanging out. No spoilers. You got to go over and check that one. That was
of course, that
was where we first saw your stuff, and it was like,
right, yeah.
This is the best baseball joke that maybe has been written since George Carlin.
Yeah. I can't. I was certainly not placing myself above the great George. But it's great, and that was not just like a joke. That was like my first clip anywhere that popped off because it did. Jeremy Frank was the one who shared it on Twitter initially, and then it also popped off on TikTok. And so between the two, it got upwards of like I think close to 1 million views at this point. Being able to get more followers on these social media platforms, which helped with comedy, getting into more festivals, getting more club opportunities out here. So I got to thank the baseball nerds, because they really showed up and showed out and helped kind of get me on this path where I'm able to do a lot of cool stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Yeah. How are you liking the new baseball rules as far as the pitch clock and all that?
Oh my God, love it. Lord, yeah. Praise be Theo Epstein in the pitch clock, man. It is fantastic. I've been to a few ball games this year, and I mean, just being able to show up to a ballpark and sit down 2 hours and 35 minutes later, be on my way walking out. It's just great. It just keeps the action up. I have no complaints. I know there's some traditionalists, and funny enough, Tyler is one of them, who's like, you put a clock on the one game that didn't have a clock. And like, I understand that to an extent, but the way that folks were just abusing, right. The time. I was about to say, growing up watching Yankees Sox all the time, Nomar Garciaparra doing the Macarena in the batter's box every time. It was like, oh my God, could we just get to the pitch? So I am a huge proponent of everything that's been proposed, man. From the pitch clock to the larger bases to the pickoff rule, I think it's all great. Honestly, I feel like I'm watching more of the baseball that I watched when I was a kid than in years prior. It just feels more exciting, and I feel more invested because I know it's not going to take 4 hours.
Yeah, you can see the whole thing through, and then you go, all right, well, I got to see the rest of this week through and the first half, and now, all right, I'm invested for the entire season. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what like postseason numbers are like on TV in general. Are you liking the City Connect uniforms that all the teams have? Yeah,
I wish the Yankees would do one. It's like, I get that we're the pinstripes and but it's like, it's funny because despite being a Yankees fan, there's so much about the Yankees that just annoy the hell out of me. Like the things that people are like, that's dumb. Why? I'm like, yeah, no, I totally acknowledge it's stupid. From the never changing jerseys to the clean shaven rule is just it's So I'm like I'm a Yankees fan in the same way that I'm Catholic, just guilt all around about it, So I love the City Connect jerseys. Other than Pittsburgh was a really big miss this year.
I mean, you get black and gold, okay, but
yeah, PGA. No one. Again, I moved around as a kid. I lived in Pittsburgh for 5 years in elementary, middle school. Nobody was saying PGH. You know what I mean? Like
it's the airport code, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. So it's just like, what are we talking about, man?
The Berg. So for the Yankees, and I don't think I said this anywhere publicly, but I might as well say it now. So here's what the Yankees could do for their City Connect to make it stay classy, because right, like Yankees got to be classy. So I'm almost imagining like the 80s style pullover jersey. Again, they're always button up, but when they would have just be navy with just the white NY, that looks clean.
Absolutely.
That would look great. But here's the color that they could kind of inject into the navy and white. And it's not red, even though, they have some logos with that, but it would either be like a mint green to be the
Mhm.
color of the Statue of Liberty. And again, maybe that's the
Ooh.
logo. So that patina, that like kind of just
Yeah.
green, I think that plays well off the navy and the white.
Mhm.
Or you could go with like a bronze color, thinking about the museums and
Mhm.
the New York Public Library. You got the lions out front. I think bronze, navy, and white. I think that keeps it classy. You're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
no, this doesn't, deviate too far from
Mhm.
the tradition of, the Yankees.
Yeah, there's nothing that, white beyond just being the Yankees colors, the white and navy, like there's no like super interconnecting thread with New York. But yeah, these City Connect jerseys are all about acknowledging the history and of the cities that these teams are playing in. So I agree completely. I would love on the kind of Statue of Liberty kind of mint green. I would love to see that just like along the kind of the brim of the hat, just as like a little bit of a tracing thing there. Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. So yeah, there's a lot of things they could do, which is what makes it so frustrating, is that there's like 1,000 ideas that, the Knicks have plenty of alternates. Look at the color scheme of the Liberty. I mean, I love their jerseys, and obviously they have the Liberty green in there too. So you've got 1,000 things you can do when we're doing nothing, which is kind of representative of Brian Cashman right now.
Look, he's scheduling his day to scale a wall or to jump out of a plane this offseason. So he's kind of busy with that right now.
Yeah, he's busy finding out which 34-year-old we can trade for no reason.
There you go.
That was the thing. See, in the mid 2000s, after the dynasty run, and we were trying to get back, it was okay. We're going to trade or sign free agents who are like 30 years old, like they're about to enter the second half of the career. So maybe we can milk 2 or 3 good seasons out of them before it falls off the rails. Gary Sheffield, Carl Pavano,
Teixeira a little bit,
and like in 2009 it worked finally. But now it's like, yo, what are we doing with some of these guys? I'm not the first. I won't be the last to be like, I don't know why we traded for Josh Donaldson.
I knew that was the guy.
Yeah,
I knew it.
It's just like, yeah, we're being the big bad in all the wrong ways right now. So,
well, the Yankees can't do any worse on their City Connect than the Dodgers, because the Dodgers just they just totally phoned that in. That was whatever.
Yeah.
All right, before we get out of here, Matt, wrestling. I know you're also into wrestling. Another great reason why we get along so well. And
absolutely, man.
Why we connect. AEW is doing really great. I'll say this. So we've got a diehards only Discord for everyone who signs up to the DNVR.com. And of course, we've got all the sports, but we also have a room for wrestling. And I've kind of thrown it out there, this idea that it does seem strange. I'm all for it, but it is very strange. And I can imagine Jim Cornette is probably going crazy, spinning in his above ground grave, because he's not dead yet. But you've got the AEW world champion MJF doing a comedy act as part of a tag team. Strange. Yeah. I enjoy it, but it is a bit strange, don't you think?
It's strange, but when you think back to like the Attitude Era, it's not completely out of the ordinary. People were doing silly things all the time, kind of in the heyday. For some reason, all that kind of reminds me of when all the wrestlers came out trying to get the Undertaker to do the Spin-a-Rooney after when the show went dark, but it must have been like 2003 or something like that. But I think it's good that MJF is kind of showing a different side these days, because it really went what we know MJF to be like really went to like 12 last. I was at the AEW show at the Forum, the Fire Me You Effing Mark promo.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so yeah, it's like, obviously he does what he does phenomenally, but yeah, it's fun to see him diversify and dance like Vince McMahon a little bit.
That's fair. That's good. Yeah. It seems like, obviously,
it is strange. I will fully say it's strange, but hey, what is wrestling if not strange?
What exactly right? How does this storyline end? I mean, it seems like it's obviously supposed to be MJF turning on Adam Cole, but can't be that, because that's the most obvious thing, right?
Right, and that's kind of but AEW is a little bit more of they kind of lean into more of like a Japanese style of booking than WWE, obviously. But like what like New Japan does so well is that you have an expectation. You're like, we're smarks. We think we know where it's going. Even from match to match, you're like, oh, it's going to finish. He's going to hit his signature here. And then but they do such a good job of swerving you. So yeah, it's like, I don't know if AEW has that higher level booking brain yet. So it might be the obvious answer. I think yeah, we're building towards a turn on Adam, but we'll see. To be determined. I try not to get in my head too much about it, so that I can just enjoy it instead of having too strict of an expectation and that not happening and me being like, well, they didn't do the thing that I wanted. That was so many of my friends with WWE and WrestleMania this year, them not giving the title to Cody, where everyone kind of just had it in their head, like it's so obvious, and then it didn't happen and everyone got mad. But it's not bad booking just because the thing you didn't want to the thing you wanted to happen didn't happen. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't know if they have something greater planned there.
Do we have a main event for SummerSlam? Is it going to be Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the title?
Yeah, I think it's probably Jey versus Reigns, and I don't know if Lesnar Cody's happening again. I don't know where that will be on the card, but those are kind of the two big matches that are happening right now. And then you've got Balor versus Seth Rollins. So yeah, I mean, I will say, while I consume a lot more WWE than I do AEW, the AEW stuff I do consume tends to be a lot higher of quality. It's a bag of Lay's chips in WWE versus like a really nice cheesecake with AEW.
I like that.
Yeah, might be harder to find or less access, but yeah, it's so much wrestling is the other part too. It's like there's like 14 hours of wrestling to catch up on every week.
Well, that's it. We're not quite the Attitude Era from the aspect of like there aren't those same large swaths of people all doing the same thing at the same time as it was in the 90s or even early 2000s. So that's never going to come back. But this is, a big time. This is probably that third, period on the Mount Rushmore besides the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars in the 90s. And then, WrestleMania first getting started in the late 80s. Like this probably goes along with it because finally there's a true competitor for WWE.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they kind of had to light a fire under their butts a little bit, which we appreciate because we would have to do a whole nother podcast to talk about WWE fumbling the bag from 2005 to even now. So it's good to see wrestling back in a competitive state and back having kind of a lot to talk about as opposed to what did John Cena do today.
He starred in the Barbie movie. Spoiler alert. Sorry, people.
Great film. Right. Go see it, everyone.
It was very good. So look, but hey, you're still talking about this. You're still having fun doing all this stuff. Go ahead, plug away. Let folks know where.
Absolutely. I've kept it very simple for everybody. M Duckett Comedy on all platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can find me there. Instagram and TikTok are kind of where I post the most stand-up stuff. But I'm on Twitter every day. Shooting the crap about baseball, wrestling, whatever I can get my hands on. But yeah, for like actual stand-up clips and stuff like that, definitely check out my Instagram, check out my TikTok. I'm posting things usually once a week at the very least. So would very much appreciate people checking that out. And thank you so much for having me. It's a blast, just like it was last time. And next time I'm out in Denver, I'll have to let you know.
Yeah, and for all our listeners, again, go ahead and please like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Leave us a review, too, if you're listening to this as a podcast and you're not watching it live on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. But because Matt is a man of the world and plies his trade in cities all around the U.S., I don't know if you've done any gigs in Canada. Maybe you'll get to that. No one has ever gone to Mexico to do any stand-up comedy, so I'm not even going to throw that into the conversation.
Yeah, some cruise comedy for sure, but well, inland, I'm not too sure. Yeah, hoping to get to Toronto, probably next summer. Next summer, I think I'm hoping to get up into Canada.
And Aruba's got a little comedy scene there. Aruba Rays, you got to check that one out.
Okay, for sure. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama. Follow us on Twitter Follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at. We appreciate you guys joining us. A lot of momentum here with both Tyler Paddor, Matt Duckett, comedy. Wonderful time. But unfortunately, we have a saying here in this world when it comes to momentum in baseball and podcasts. It's that your momentum is only as good as your next show. So, of course, we will talk to you tomorrow right here on the DNVR Sports Channel live at 1 p.m. right here on YouTube.